And now, Daily War and Stuff with Lucas Sims.
Yeah. And we're rolling.
Welcome to your Daily War and Stuff podcast. I'm your newscaster, Lucas Sims, and before we move forward with our regular scheduled program, I've got a quick segment for you guys. It's called Wires and Spies, Decoding the First World War. So before World War I, communications were lackluster, and even going into it, it was still pretty bad. Often things got messed up and were very poor and overall unreliable, especially on the battlefield. Telegrams and radios existed at the time, but they were bulky, vulnerable, and almost all the armies had to rely on these things. They weren't very good. These often led to casualties because of these vulnerabilities, and it stayed like that for a while until they got a bit of more modern stuff, but even then they still had to rely on these. Notable examples of these poor communications causing significant loss for the Russian army was in the Battle of Tannenberg. Before modern radios, they only had telegraphs and had to send things through letters as well. That's about it. Thank you for listening to my little segment. Now on to the interview with U.S. Sergeant Alvin York.
Hey guys, it's Solomon, and I'm here with U.S. Sergeant Alvin York to talk about medical issues during the war. Alvin York, what were the living conditions like in the trenches as opposed to being hygienic and sanitary?
The living conditions in the trenches were filled with stagnant, muddy water and piles of garbage. These resulted in infestations of rats and mice, which spread diseases like trench foot and unburied corpses that attract swarms and flies.
Interesting, and are there any ways you guys can solve these problems?
We have to drink clean water, take medicine, wash our clothes, and maintain our personal appearance.
How did the results of prosthetics affect the diseased trench foot?
Well, they have these fillers and specialized plates, which replace the missing parts of the foot to make a robotic foot, which could have the ability to walk more smoothly.
So what weapon caused the result of amputation?
Explosive devices such as artillery shells, which are metal projectiles filled with explosive or other payloads. They are fired from large guns to cause damage on the battlefield, which resulted in someone getting hurt or amputated if not careful.
The one battle that trench foot had an effect on was the First World War. What did it lead to?
The trench foot led to severe pain, tissue loss, and nerve damage, where the constant dampness and pressure caused skin damage, restricted blood flow, which could result in long-term nerve damage and permanent sensitivity. We tried to stop it before we started by having soldiers apply well oil to each other's feet, but you can only do so much in that type of condition.
Then why did so many people spend so much time in the trenches? Why didn't they just say, to hell with this? Let's just rush the other guy and kill him.
Well, there's a thing called no man's land, which was basically a death sentence if you decided to cross. They would be loaded up and waiting for you to cross and just let machine guns fire rip through anything bold enough to take that chance. If you're not sure why that is a bad thing, just realize every war we had been in previously had to use single-fire rifles, and one of these bad boys were equivalent to 60 to 100 of those. So in a few years' time, a battle on of 5 people with machine guns felt like 300 people with rifles bearing down on you.
These trenches are a moment of history that most people would never forget, right? Trench warfare had 8.5 million deaths and 37 million casualties. Why would trench warfare in general be a good defensive strategy?
It provides physical protection from artillery and small arms fire, creates a defensive stronghold that is difficult for attackers to breach.
Thank you, Sergeant York. Back to you guys.
Thank you for having that interview with us, Sergeant Alvin York. Alright, now on to the extra desk with Yannick.
What's up guys, it's Yannick with your extra desk. So during World War I, there were a lot of new ways of transportation. These inventions had two very different jobs. Some were built to hurt people and others were built to help people. First, the tank. It was like a big metal fort on wheels with guns. Before tanks, soldiers used horses which were slow and easy to shoot. At the Battle of the Somme, tanks were used for the first time, and about 49 tanks were used. Second, we have the motor ambulance. This was like an early car turned into a hospital car. It was much faster and smoother than the old bumpy horse wagons. This speed was crucial because it got hurt soldiers to doctors much faster. In fact, these new ambulances helped save about 80 out of every 100 hurt soldiers they picked up. Third, we have the trench railway. This was a strong armored train and track built specifically for battlefields. It replaced the dangerous job of soldiers who had to carry heavy supplies by hand under fire. This amazing train system moved a huge 6 million tons of food and bullets to the front lines, making sure soldiers never ran out. Finally, the armored car. This was an armored car with a machine gun on top. It could drive quickly around the battlefield to attack enemy positions.
Alright, that's about it for today. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.
Bye, have a great time.